Welcome back to Curious Christianity. I'm Adam, and today I just want to explain some of the difficulties of interpreting Genesis chapter 1 correctly. I know for many of the people that are out there who have been young earth creationists, this is really a no brainer at all. But let me at least explain a couple of the reasons why I think this is incredibly complex and difficult. So, I haven't made a video in about a week, and it's not because I've been lazy, it's because I have been consuming information on this subject, and I have just found that there is a ridiculous amount of views. There are multiple old Earth views. There are a couple young Earth views. Then there are theistic evolution views. And the point is not like what their end state is. Like a lot of people will just dismiss the evolutionary views because, of course, they believe in evolution, and I get it. But the point would be that they are offering an interpretation of Genesis chapter 1 that is not always as obviously wrong. So let me explain a few of these reasons. Reason number one that I find it very difficult. Reason number one is that it's written in Hebrew. Don't naturally speak Hebrew. Of course, I'm a naturally English speaker. I have learned some Spanish, so I can do that. But because it's in another language, there are lots of nuances and difficulties to interpreting Genesis chapter 1. There are a lot of things that we assume because we read it in English. It's easy. You're just like, oh, well, it says this right here. And it's like, yeah, but once I go back to the Hebrew, it doesn't say exactly that. And if you've watched some of my other videos on ordinal numbers and definitive articles, you'll see some of the complexities there. Because there are a lack of prepositions in certain areas. There's a lack of definite articles or articles at all. And so it makes it much more challenging. All right, number two. It is written to a culture and a context that does not belong to me. If you have visited a lot of other cultures and been a part of a lot of other contexts, this makes a lot more sense. If you've mostly only been of one culture, been a part of one culture or one context, then this might sound almost a little bit weird. But there are lots of nuances. Like I grew up in the military. My dad was in the military for 20 years, and so we moved a lot, and I've met a lot of different people. And I can tell you that the culture from the West Coast to the East Coast is quite different. And even when you just go from simple state to state, there are words and phrases and nuances that are very different. Now, we're talking about a very ancient context and a very ancient culture. And so some of those things, how they might read it, will be very different than how we might read it. And good hermeneutics entails that we must be careful and we must try and read it as it was written to the people it was written. So I think it's really important that we understand the significant difference here. Now, some people just say it's like, well, we should just read it in its natural context, that everyone can understand and will understand everything. That isn't so easy or so obvious. Let me give you one example that is not perfect, but so I heard about a bunch of missionaries, and they were evangelizing to some tribal groups up in the mountains. And they were telling him different Bible stories, and one of the Bible stories they told was this Bible story of when Jesus and the disciples get into a boat, they cross over the lake, and they end up meeting the demoniac. The only problem with this story is this tribal group had never seen a body of water larger than a puddle. They had no concept or word for lake, ocean, river, anything of the kind. So how do you describe what a boat is when somebody doesn't know what a lake is? It's way more tricky and complicated. So the very concepts themselves sometimes are a little bit different, and how you use idioms and language can all be a little bit different. So lastly, there is just so much info to digest. I myself am not going to be so arrogant as to say, like, yes, I am going to finally solve all of the problems of this debate between young earthers and old earthers and theistic evolutionists and all those things. No. But what I will say is that I do think that this channel can and helps provide some more information on the topic where other people can make the decision for themselves. I think it's very important that we all make our own decisions ultimately. You know, we can listen to other people complain about the subject, how difficult or how wrong somebody's interpretation of Genesis 1 is, or how wrong their interpretation of the end times, or there are all sorts of things. We can complain about what other people do, but ultimately we're responsible for our own beliefs. And it doesn't matter how popular or unpopular the scholar you like the most or whatever it is other people believe. Ultimately, what matters is what you believe. And by all means, if you want to try and convince other people that what you believe is true, then yeah, do that. But I think I guess I will say this. I was kind of expecting this project to probably wrap up in maybe a month. It's now been probably almost, I don't know, a couple months maybe. And I would say it's just getting deeper. So I will have to figure out what to do with all the information. But I hope these videos have been helpful. So study hard and follow the truth. See you in the next video.